Welcome to another episode of the Tower 26 B-Race Radio Podcast. I'm Joe Minsky here once again with Coach Jerry Rodriguez. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
You look wet.
Wet.
You looked a little bit damp, Jerry.
Well, I had to coach this morning, and
So speaking to that mic right there, let's make sure we get on the top of that mic because we want all the listeners to hear your buttery tones. But here's the thing. It's raining in LA right now, if you haven't noticed.
an unusual thing.
Downpour. What do they say? Tigers and lions, or cats and dogs is the right word, right? So it's raining. I woke up this morning. I was thinking about coming to the swim. Honestly, I was thinking about coming. I rolled over 5:30 in the morning. I heard the nice patter. I was nice and warm in my bed. Looked at the clock, said 5:30. I didn't make it to the swim, but I thought about you being at the swim. So I think that's half the battle, right?
It rained a lot this morning.
At least I thought about you. Then I went back to bed for another hour.
Well, I understand.
No, I got up and started doing push-ups. That's what I do in the morning. I do push-ups from 5:45 to 6:45 every morning, as you can tell from the guns.
Oh, man. Doing some mirrors, I see, lately.
That's what I do. Hey, it's been a month since we've been on the air. Our Halloween show, Thanksgiving has passed. The holidays are 3-4 weeks away before Christmas and New Year's. We got a lot to catch up on here. It's going to be a good show. I'm excited.
Well, we needed to get this show in mainly because we have lots of questions. You guys, thanks for sending in your questions, and we just need to get those answered at a minimum. So we've got sort of a question-packed episode.
I'm not sure I remember how to do this after a month off of podcasting or being on the audio waves. I'm not sure how to do it, but we are on Facebook Live, so it's exciting. People can see your beautiful glare and I don't know what they think of my glare or whatever, but we got a little our production assistant over here fixing the microphone. You right there, Christoph? Everything good? Good. But speaking of Facebook Live, do you know what episode has the most views on Facebook Live? Any idea?
On Facebook?
Facebook Live, yes.
Probably, was it the Gordon episode?
It is when swim lessons are overrated, actually.
You're kidding me.
47,000 Facebook views.
Wow.
47,000. Can we officially say that we're famous? Worldwide fame? I do carry this pen with me everywhere I go in case we have autographs. Is it possible
for your mom to go on Facebook Live? And how does that work? Could you do that?
Mom and dad do it too. And let's see, if you divide it by 2, 47,000 divided by 2. I don't do math, so it's probably like 100,000 downloads each for each of them because, well, that's exciting. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Episode 60 is our most listened to out of the last 10 episodes. That is when to introduce technique changes into your triathlete swimming. Yeah. So people are still listening. People are tuning in. But our fastest growing country right now, South Africa. It's moved up to number 11.
Your friend Chris Wright's going to be happy to hear that.
Chris Wright is around spreading the word in South Africa. I see him going on all the South African forums telling people to listen, so we owe him a couple bucks for. But we want to say hi to all of our other African nations that are listening: Zambia, Kenya, Morocco, Senegal, Nigeria, Somalia, Tanzania, Ghana.
Could you believe it?
I can't believe it.
I was looking through these stats and I was blown away. I mean, Senegal, Nigeria.
Triathlon is exploding everywhere.
Andrew Messick should be proud.
Andrew Messick is proud. Speaking of Andrew Messick, he just announced that there's a new 7.3 in India, which is our 33rd country on the list as listenership. So let's see what happens. It's in Goa, India, 70.3, Goa, India.
It's a year away. I bet, let's take a little friendly wager, that probably over the next 3 months, our listenership goes up from India.
Let's take a little wait. Let's bet. I'm going to say it goes up in Senegal more than India. All right. What are we going to bet?
What do you got? One listener in Senegal?
One listener in Senegal, possibly. So let's get on to the show. What did we speak about last episode first?
Well, we did the Kona review and went over the stats from Kona and how athletes did and so on. We talked about the World Open Water Swimming Conference that ended up being a huge success, by the way. And then, of course, we talked about you turning 40.
You know what? 40 years young. But what inspires me is I did Ironman Arizona last week, and the winner, Eniko Llanos, 41 years old. So I have a year left where I can go win Ironman Arizona next year. It's inspirational.
You could do it, yeah.
I could do it. That's why I'm hanging out with you.
Well, the main thing, as you know, in the episode was how do we introduce technique changes or when to introduce them in the triathlon cycle. So that was sort of the main foundation of the show. You keep looking over there, Christoph.
Well, Christoph keeps looking at me about something.
Drop the microphone like I did.
Drop my microphone a little bit. All right. See, we're always. Oh, see my face. They don't want to see my face, buddy. We gotta get a mic on this guy over here. He would add a little flavor to the show, Christoph. So we're gonna talk about this episode.
Well, the percentage efforts. it's a question that's been coming up, one, from many of our subscribers, and then once subscribers and just write-ins, people who write in that are not subscribers of the program, that want to know, in our workouts, when we talk about going at 70% effort or 80% effort, what does that mean and how do you calculate it?
Yeah, and that's a question we get a lot on our coaching platform, coaching.tower26.com. I get the question all the time, what does 75% mean? What does 80% mean? How do I know I'm going 90%? What is 1,000 TT? What's 100 TT? So we're going to go over this today in detail, and I might learn a thing or two as well.
Well, I just wanted to talk about it for a few minutes. Mainly, let's answer all these folks' questions today and get that behind us, and then set up for our next episode when we get that ready to go. But so we'll spend 5 minutes or so on the percentage efforts.
All right, good. And what else are we going on to? We're going to talk about some of those pros performances at Cabo, yes. Arizona.
Yep. When you want to do that right now?
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's see. Carrie Lester had a great day in Cabo, but she also had a really good day in Arizona as well.
Two second-place performances.
She's really...
Carrie, congratulations.
Is she watching right now?
She might be.
We got to get Carrie on here sometime. Carrie and Scott, they can come on, but they might gab the whole time. I would lose control of my show. So I saw him afterwards. I actually saw Carrie right after Arizona. She was shivering more than I've ever seen anybody shiver right after the race.
It was cold.
It was cold?
I mean, the water was chilly.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I swam, and I have very fragile tootsies. My toes, very fragile. I get out of the water.
Believe this guy?
My toes are frozen. The entire bike ride, 20 minutes left in the bike is when they finally thawed out. So we can talk. I'm going to ask you a question in the question segment.
Wait a minute.
I'm going to write in and
Carrie,
ask you.
53 minutes. It was a good swim.
Yeah, 53 minutes. I was in there an hour, 5 minutes. So I had 12, 13, 15 more, whatever it is, 15 more minutes in the water. So I must have been much more colder than she was.
I got to take you in a math class there.
It's not my strong suit. Let me tell you what my strong suit is. Hitting the gym and protein powders. That's about it. Everything else takes a back seat.
You guys, you see how difficult it must be to coach this guy?
Let's talk about Carly. Carly, amazing results this year. She's really coming into her own. And
it's having that baby.
The baby's what it is.
It's what it is.
Settled her down. Yep. She's sixth place at Cabo. And then Natasha Vandermeer, seventh at Arizona.
Right? Yeah. Did really well.
So exciting times there. We had a photo contest. I know our listeners are on edge to find out what happened in the photo contest.
Right. I think Christophe has those available. In fact, well, what we did was we put that contest out and said, if you can guess off of our new website where we had probably 60 or so images, if you can guess which images were staged, because most weren't, which were the staged images, we give a free subscription. Mm-hmm. So Jessica got lots of folks that sent in your guesses, and unfortunately, nobody got it.
Nobody got it.
Right.
So, somehow I saw this way playing out this way when you announced the contest a couple months ago.
Well, you know what?
It's kind of tough.
Most of you guys put too many images in there, and they were only 3, 4, 5, 7 or 8 images. Is that right, Christophe? 8 images. 3 of Christophe. Right? We had 3 of Christophe. We had 2 of that were set up with me coaching, and 1 with Sean Jefferson, that beautiful running form on the track. Mm-hmm. Of course,
that was set up.
That one was
that's
staged.
the one that would have got everybody off because he's a beautiful runner. Guy's like a gazelle.
3:56 mile runner. I mean, it's pretty fast. The one with the great shot in Hawaii. There were 2 swimmers swimming in Hawaii. That was staged. Andrew, one of our subscribers, did that for us, and then Coach Tim.
Coach Tim was staged.
Coach Tim is just a sort of a studio shot that he sent in.
See, you don't know it,
so that was it.
But there you go. Yeah. So, sorry nobody won. We'll have to come up with another unwinnable contest. Kobayashi Maru is what they call it in Star Trek.
Well, we should come up with something and make sure that there's a winner. So let me think about that.
Okay, what's 1 plus 1? Answer that, and we'll give you... I don't know.
We'll come up with something.
Lunch with Lubinsky. You buy. All right, let's get on the topic of the episode, percentages. I get questions on this all the time. I'm tired of answering it. So from now on, I'm just going to refer them to this episode. So let's make it clear and concise.
Well, let's start with the simple question. What is it? What are they? What are these percentages? And why do we prescribe them? They're simply a mechanism from a coach's perspective to prescribe a demand within a workout or during a workout, so we can extract a certain yield from the athlete. The thing is with most, I wouldn't say most, many triathletes, especially ones who don't have any swim background, which is the majority, and then those who swim on their own, the typical 30 to 45 minutes, or maybe an hour on your own, tend to have sort of a standard effort. 70%, 75% effort, sort of this steady state for 40 minutes of swimming, okay? Well, we need to be able to break them out of that if you really want performance gains. So we need to teach you to have various efforts. The thing that becomes difficult is, how do you do it? And one of the things for sure that we don't want to do, which we see many times, especially from athletes who love the Garmin, and by the way, this is no Garmin season, right?
No Garmin.
This time of the year, we drop the Garmins. We don't take a whole bunch of data in. This is the technical phase. But the athlete does a time trial. The typical messaging that we get, the athlete does a time trial for, say, 100 freestyle. And let's give an example. They did a minute and 40 seconds. Let's make it easy math.
Easy math.
Make it easy for you.
There's no such thing.
Easy math. Well, this is going to be easy for you. A minute and 40 seconds is 100 seconds.
Gotcha.
60 plus 40,
okay.
right? Okay,
60
are you on
plus
board?
40, got it, okay.
That's 100 seconds.
Got it.
What that athlete typically then does is takes 100 seconds and then gets 95%. So 100 seconds is their max effort. Then they would do, if I were 5% slower, 95%, what's 5% of 100 seconds? 5 seconds, right? Let me help you out.
I'm already lost. You already got me lost. Get 5 seconds right. 95 seconds. 10%, 90, 85. It's all an act. I'm a mathematician genius. Call me beautiful mind over here. Hey, I got you. This is easy. No problem.
Could you believe this, Christoph?
So
what are we going
go.
to do here?
Let's go.
So what I've seen these athletes do is then put up sort of a matrix chart. 100% equal 140. If I went 95%, I'm 145. If I went 90%, I'm 150. If I went 85%, I'm 155. And they make it very, very sort of linear. It doesn't work that way.
Gotcha.
That doesn't work that way at all. So those of us who enjoy doing that, I understand why you do it that way, because it's simple math, but it's not how it works. In fact, a perfect example, when you're swimming at your top end aerobic effort, you get that spot where you're waffling beneath the red line, right? Something that you could sustain, say 10 100s with 10 seconds rest, and you're holding your best sustained effort. That's about 85% effort or so, right? You're sitting there and in your case, you're swimming 118s as an example. If I asked you to go 5% higher, up to 90%, in the example I just gave, it would be 3 or 4 or 5 seconds faster. But sometimes to go from 85% to 90% might only yield a 1 second improvement. So the correlation is not direct. So we can't expect it to be direct. And the main thing is, well, how do we get the number to swim at? Forget about the numbers, guys. This is a feeling. And we have to learn, and we talked about this in prior episodes, how to marry an effort to a time to a feeling. An effort to a time to a feeling. So 70%. That's a relatively comfortable aerobic effort. If you just went out and started walking, in fact, if we did a heart rate check when you hopped into warm-up, your heart rate ends up being about 60% of your maximum heart rate. So to just bump up to 70%, it's not much. It's a light aerobic effort. You're very, very comfortable. You should get familiar with that feeling, what that feels like. Then when we ask you to go up to 80%, that's going to be stressing you some more, but it's not a direct number off that linear chart we were just talking about, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So, and then at 85%, where you're really aerobically pressing, we need to know what that feels like. That's sort of the body starting to, rattle a little bit, but you're still able to be contained, meaning you're not blowing up, but you're sitting there. That's your 85% upper aerobic output. And we have to learn what that feels like. And Christoph and I were talking earlier, right? That's about a year sometimes in training, multiple months to get this down, to learn that feeling. And then we marry those, because that feeling then is related to a performance time. So when you are putting out at a certain output, in this example, 85%, that feels a certain way. And that feeling is stress on your system. But you could sustain it for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes in the example that we gave. So we have to learn the effort to the feeling to the time.
See, now this is more, it's why is it so much more foreign in the water as opposed to when you're running? Because when you're running, people know the feeling. Okay, go run easy for an hour. Okay, this is the pace I have to hold for an hour. This is the feeling I have to have for an hour to run for an hour, as opposed to just sprint it out and then just die after 2 minutes. Why in the pool is it so foreign to people?
Personal question. How much do you weigh?
Do you want my real weight or the weight that I say on my hockey card? My hockey card says 210. I really weigh 180.
All right. 180.
Yeah.
What do you weigh in the water?
See, this math, we're going to title this, forget it percentage, math for Jim in this one.
So Jim weighs 180 pounds on land.
Maybe 90 pounds in the water.
So
70% displacement?
90% of your body weight is displaced. It's gone. We don't really know. We have this different feeling that we don't have familiarity with because on land, you know what everything feels like. In the water, we don't. It takes time. That's that whole, all ties into that proprioceptiveness thing that you taught me.
Gotcha. And another thing is when I find when I'm answering the questions and I'm seeing the pool, the swimmers on deck, 70%, 99% of the time, the 70% effort is too damn fast.
Yes.
They take out that easy effort too fast, so they have nowhere to go by the time they get to the 90% effort.
2 words. John Mulcahy.
John Mulcahy, Bulldog Mulcahy.
John is one of our members, you guys, for who are listening and watching this. John Mulcahy, wonderful guy, terrific athlete.
Oh, sweet. Salt of the earth.
Yes. But John's got one gear. Not 100%, 90% maybe. 90
and no matter how much you tell this guy, back it off, doesn't do it. Don't be John Mulcahy. Right. That's what a t-shirt's going to say. #DBJM.
He just high output. So our job as coaches when we're running our workouts, during the set and we ask for specific outputs, we're then walking around our workout, looking at our athletes' performance, and we're able to tell who's at 70%, who's at 80%, and the ones that are over or under, we stop them and say, hey, back down or speed up. And some of this, guys, is personality driven. In John's case, he just likes to be sort of pedal to the metal quite a bit. And I can think of a few other athletes, they like to be calm.
Yeah.
70% all day long.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no real magic to this, but it's definitely not formula driven.
Both ends of the spectrum. So there you go. I think that's an important point there. Is there anything else you want to touch on that?
No,
just move on.
I want to keep it, make sure it's simple and we don't get caught up in trying to put together a metric chart for it.
Yeah. Be patient. Learn your efforts. It might take a year, it might take 6 months, it might take a month, but learn those efforts.
And it's a good point. Learn the efforts, but guess what, guys? As you improve, the feeling is the same, but the time changes. In other words, if you got used to swimming at 130 per 100 speed consistently, and that's your 80% effort, as your performance improves, your 80% effort may then be yielding 127s, as an example. So remember.
It's no different than running or cycling. As you get fitter and faster, your times improve, perceived effort stays the same.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. So we look forward to getting more questions on effort, as we still will, and we'll just refer them right to this episode. Let's get on to the workout of the episode before we get to the questions.
You want to do the workout before?
Do the workout. Let's go to coaching.tower26.com for the workout of the episode and to subscribe so you too can write in and ask me about the efforts.
And you guys, thanks very much. We had a lot of subscribers, as you know. Christophe has been working on it, on getting all of that set up, and you've seen them in our comment section. Quite an abundance of subscribers in the last 30 days. So you guys, thanks for your trust. Appreciate you joining in and looking forward in the next year to really taking you your performances beyond your wildest dreams.
And it's funny reading those comments and the progression. They start out, because in the toughness phase, we do a lot of kicking and they just don't have the feel. But with that consistency and with the perseverance and fighting through session after session, you see after 6-8 sessions, they start to get it and something clicks. And then you hear the joy in their comments.
Right, yeah.
It's exciting to see that kind of stuff.
So this workout for us is... remember the phase that we're in. We're in our technical and recovery phase. So very few portions of the workout are going to have high intensity. And the majority of the workout during this phase is technically driven. The demand is to be fully present and to be focusing on the specific mechanics that we ask for. So the workout that I have here is super detailed. So we don't have the time to go into the details. So we'll just send them to the website to look at it.
Coaching.tower26.com.
But generally, we spend at this time of the season our A workouts. Remember, we have 4 workouts a week, and we divide them up into categories of A, B, and C. 2 A workouts, those are your key foundation sessions. Those are the cannot miss sessions. If you got sick during the week and you only had the opportunity to make 2 of your normal 3, you would do our 2 A sessions. Then the B, then the C. That's sort of the order of priority. In our A sessions, the first 50% of the time is done basically going through a number of drills, although we don't do a ton of drills, but at this time of the season, we have more portions of the training session that's geared towards very specific accomplishments that we want you to achieve. And so in this particular workout, that's the first 45 minutes for the most part, which has a progression of kicking. And the reason is, well, why kicking? Jerry, you've talked about, triathletes don't need to kick that much. Well, you don't. But we need to teach you how to hold your body properly in the water. And the legs have a big part of that regarding tautness. And tautness is our number one foundational backbone that everything is laid upon. All swimming mechanics is laid upon proper tautness. So we spend the first several weeks going through tautness. So the first 30 to 45 minutes of our session is about tautness. And then the remainder of it, we go into the bulk of it, where in the main set, although we're doing, in this case, the workout calls for a 10-minute swim and then a couple of 5-minute swims and so on. In that main set, the focus is still on, in this case, tautness. And we just, by the way, started into alignment. So in this particular session, we have a little bit of alignment touching in it.
Gotcha. So you want the details of this session, go to coaching.tower26.com. You'll see everything Jerry's talking about, and you too will get the feeling of tautness with mindful swimming and keeping that front and center throughout your session.
And I want to save the time. It's not that I don't want to give the workout on the air here.
Yeah.
We've got 14 questions. I want to make sure
Let's
we get
on to it.
Yeah.
We want everybody to get a little piece of the pie today. Remember, go to contact@tower26.com to write your questions in to Coach Jerry so they can get read on air and you can be famous, get your 15 seconds of fame, like Richard is about to get right now.
And thank you, Jessica. I want to publicly thank Jessica, who's been handling a lot of those questions when they come in and sending them off to you or myself or Christophe and so on.
Coach Jessica. Yeah, Richard writes, looking to sign up for the online plan, but I've had a couple questions on how the workouts are structured. It looks like the schedule starts after Kona. I still have a race, Ironman Florida, November 4th. If I sign up for the plan, will I be behind on the workouts? And will there be some important beginning workouts I will miss? Or will I start at the beginning and just be a couple weeks behind?
Hey, Richard, thanks for your question. This is a very common question.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody starts where we are. The program is a year-long program. It does not really matter when you start. You have to get all the segments of our plan in place. If you happen to start with us right on day one as we're beginning our technical phase, then that's great. But the great majority don't, right?
Oh, yeah, we get sign-ups all throughout the year, and everybody's been happy so far. So
just like our regular location-based program. It's throughout the year. So for you, in your case, once you've gotten done with your race, which was a couple of weeks ago, November 4th, you would join in whenever you've recovered and you're ready to start. You would pick up right then. And the workouts that you would be receiving has some foundation of the sessions before, because we are still going, although we're in the alignment portion right now, every single session still has the technical piece of tautness on it.
Oh, you'll still get your workout in there,
you'll still
Richard.
get
Don't
the
worry about
foundations
that.
in.
Yeah. Next question. Mike Wizerbibke. That's a fun name to say. Mike Wizerbibke. Hey, guys. That's how I do it. Enunciast. Hello, guys. Huge thanks for your podcast and all the priceless knowledge that you share. It's amazing. I've heard Jerry saying a few times that if you're faster with a pole buoy, you're probably a triathlete. Is it true for a majority of my triathlete This is true for a majority of my triathlete pals. Not for me, though. I'm significantly slower by 10 seconds per 100 meters. When I'm swimming the pole buoy, my legs are automatically locked. They don't move at all. And the other thing is that after the pole set, when I'm back to swimming without toys, I get cramps in my calves almost immediately, and I'm unable to do any quality freestyle swimming afterwards. A coach said that my swimming form is very poolish, too much propulsion from kicking and relatively weak arm force, and that this is why I lose time in open water compared to athletes who are slower than me in the pool. Do you have any suggestions on how to solve this problem with cramps? I don't actually care that I'm slower with a pole buoy. Maybe I should care. But I would like to be able to continue my training after the pole sets. Is it okay to change the pole buoy for neoprene shorts in my case? Just for the pole sets, of course. Thanks in advance. Cheers. Interesting question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Mike, thanks for the question. A few things here. 10 seconds per 100, slower pulling, not usual for males. We find this more with female athletes, not with male athletes. So highly unusual. Your coach or the coach that said you're poolish, and I'm glad you put that in your the foundation of your question here, because that gave me some extra information to give an answer. You're an overkicker, most likely. And that will create a huge extraction of heartbeats with not much propulsion for you. So you actually need to work a lot on pulling, learn to calm your legs down. So the more pulling you do in workouts and learning to shut legs off will ultimately be better for Mike.
And that's why he's cramping afterwards too, because his legs are totally engaged when he's pulling. I mean, it's a static, like kind of flexing the whole way through.
It's the way he described it. He has them almost too tight, so we'd have to see that. I can't really comment on that portion of it. I just don't know. As far as what to do when you cramp, was it shot? What are the shot? Hot shot? Or,
hot shot. Take some electrolytes.
There are a few things that
do some
our
calf raises outside of the pool, all that stuff. But there's got to be a deeper reason as to why it's happening.
Right. So, Mike, I suspect in your case, you need to have some technical review, most likely shut down the kick, and build in a whole lot more pulling. You need to develop specific muscular endurance in your lat muscles and shoulders.
I see people like to kick a lot. They don't trust the pull buoy enough. When they put the pull buoy in, they keep those legs engaged.
Yes.
You got to trust the pull buoy, let it do its work so you can focus on the front end of the stroke.
And that's why we have ankle straps.
Put on your ankle strap, Mikey. Wizard Beepkey. Hey, Chad Vesarella writes, Jerry, how does your philosophy of training mesh with the idea that triathlete training should be 80-20? Is there any reason you use percentage instead of zones, or is it more of a conceptual issue? Clarification, 80% of the triathlete's training should be at an easy pace and 20% should be moderate to high intensity. This 80-20 proportion is supposed to be the magical number for recovery and improvement. Thanks for the help.
Chad, thanks for the question. Chad's one of our subscribers. Here's that metric again.
Yep.
80-20. I don't know where this has come from. I've read this. I've seen this. I don't have that any sort of experience to know if that's the exact number. In fact, I would think that percentage would be different based on where somebody is in their progression, if they're a new athlete versus a very experienced athlete. Somebody who is an older athlete versus a much younger athlete. I think
it's all relative.
It's right. So I don't like getting caught up in these definitive type, sort of boxes to be put into. As you know from our workouts, we vary efforts quite a bit. And it's important to recognize that whatever the percentage is, it's different in swimming.
Yeah.
Swimming, we can train at much higher effort levels relative to riding and running. So let's make an assumption that you are one of those guys and you wanted to do that 80-20 thing for whatever the reason is. Recognize you can actually spend more time at higher heart rate training in swimming than you can in riding and running.
And if you ask me, there is no 80-20. My athletes, 100-0. 100% of the time, they go 100% all-out effort. I don't accept any less.
Lunch with Levinsky.
Look at the results. Next question, Scotty Fitzgerald of Alexandria, Virginia. Dear Tower 26, very formal. I love the podcast. It's been a huge help for my swimming. Just wondering if there's a particular brand of ankle straps that you recommend. I don't see them listed in your equipment on the swim mall. Thanks.
Scott, I'm glad you asked this question, coming on the heels of Mike with the pull buoy. So, Mike, listen to the answer to this question and go get the ankle straps. Scott, it's on our website. The ankle straps that we had been using were made by Speedo. Apparently, they're out of production. We weren't able to get them any longer, and we moved over to. Unfortunately, it's not a strap. It's a band. Yeah. I don't really like the bands. I prefer the straps because your ankles are really locked once you're with the straps. But the bands that we use are made by TYR, and they have clasps, so it really prevents you from moving your legs. What is that swim shop in Northern California? I think it's in Northern California. Online swimming swim outlet. Yeah, thanks. Swim Outlet has their own brand of ankle strap, and I think it's called. I don't even know the name, but
Swim Outlet.
Strap. I wish it were that simple. Sporty, Sporti.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, I know that.
It's the exact same thing that Speedo had. So if you wanted the ankle strap, which has a Velcro thing to it, go to Swim Outlet. Sporti ankle strap. Get it.
There you go. When's Tower 26? We just got to make our own equipment.
We will at some point.
Jerry, let's get on this. Come on.
It's not Christophe, like we don't have enough.
Get anything done here, we need to get Christophe on it. Christophe, get on this now. Cindy Koch writes from Northern California. Hey, Jerry, I've just started listening to your podcasts, and I absolutely love them, especially your partner. I'm currently swimming with a master's group 3 to 4 times a week and rarely ever miss a session. If I were to sign up for your online swim plan, would you recommend I give up the master's workouts or replace 1 or 2 sessions with Tower 26 workouts? Your workouts sound awesome. However, I admit I don't push myself as much when I solo swim than when I'm with a group, which is totally normal, right?
Yep.
I'm 57, have swam master's program for over 30 years. The structure of the program is one day's distance focus, another is individual medley. Then the third day, short sprint focus. Out of the 3 disciplines, open water swimming is my strength relatively, 29 to 31 minutes for 70.3 distance, around 25 minutes for Olympic distance. I'm always striving to improve in all aspects of triathlon. Thank you both to you and Jim for bringing such a wealth of information to all levels of athletes. I'm a sponge to all this information.
All right, Cindy, thanks very much for the question. And in fact, Cindy joined our plan, I believe.
Beautiful.
So didn't even need to really answer the question. But the reason I wanted to have this question on air, Cindy, is this: your question is actually quite common. There are many athletes who swim in master's programs. I always come back to, I think a location-based program is very important and vital to an athlete's success, providing you have good coaching. So once you have a coach who understands the demands of a triathlete, it's one of the reasons that sticking with a master's program is helpful. It's not the only reason. There's comradeship, community, and you get some athletes to train with. So that there's a plethora of reasons to stick with your master's program. For those who decide to augment that and join our plan, because our plan is very season specific for the triathlete. What's the word? When you go through all the phases.
Periodization.
All right.
Yeah.
Because it's periodized over the 5 phases, it'll be very specific to the demands of the triathlete. So in this case, what you would do is make sure you do our 2 A sessions, and then you can fill in your other sessions with the master's program.
Forget that IM. We don't need that one.
You don't. And to Jim's point, it's not necessary because you don't have the luxury of a whole bunch of an additional time to do things like I am.
Gotcha. One last thing?
Nah,
Good?
it's okay. Yeah.
End it there. Christian Hensino writes, hey guys, love the podcast. Just a quick question about using the snorkel. I used one for the first time today and I only managed about 75 meters because I got water up my schnoz. Do you have swimmers use a nose clip or should I try inhaling through the pipe and exhaling through my nose?
Christian, thanks for the question. Very common, right?
Very common.
Doesn't matter.
Waterboarding.
Yeah. It's torture. And it doesn't matter if you're a great swimmer, have a swim background, or no swim background. In fact, I recall when I first started using a snorkel a number of years ago, it was just, it's awful. It takes about 3 weeks if you swim 3 or 4 times a week. The standard 10 times of using it, you'll eventually get used to it. I do not recommend the nose clip. I know some athletes go for that quickly because it's a quick fix, but I prefer that you learn how to use the snorkel without a nose clip.
It's that easy. Tom Dowds writes, hey, recently I found your podcast and just listened on tautness. I'm new to swimming and triathlon, but I was a former elite acrobatic skier.
Wow.
Yeah, I was reading this earlier, and I'd like to see some clips of Todd doing some of these acrobats. Christophe is trying to keep the papers down.
That's right.
Got to show the moneymaker. That's going to bring in the sponsors there. The moneymaker can't block that. Hey, so he's an acrobatic skier. Your analogy of hard noodle versus wet noodle made a lot of sense to me. In acrobatics, it is extremely important to keep a rigid structure to create efficient twisting mechanics. We did this by focusing on squeezing your glutes and core. You obviously can maintain nor desire that level of rigidity in swimming. You obviously can't maintain nor desire that level of rigidity in swimming. 3 seconds in the air versus hours in the water. But do you prescribe your athletes to focus on tightening the muscles while swimming to keep a taut structure in the water?
It's a good question. Thanks, Todd. I've found athletes such as gymnasts, dancers, and so on have a real good sense of body awareness and the acute detail of how much tension to put in the muscles to hold the body taut in the water. And I think this is what you were saying in the terms of what you're familiar with. And now you're trying to bring that to swimming. It just takes time. This is that proprioceptiveness again. It's the ability for the brain to talk to the nerves, to talk to the muscles, to execute a task. And in this case, the task is to hold the body's structure firmly. And because we are somewhat weightless, that 92% of body weight's displaced, it's difficult to get that dosage of tension correctly. So tricks such as maybe tightening or squeezing your glutes, holding your stomach muscles in tighter, and so on, these all help to some extent. And over time, we nail it down.
You know who used a good, what do you call it? Parallel term was Michael Collins when he was on the show episodes ago. How was it? 20 episodes ago. He said it's like a dimmer switch on the light. You don't want to be all the way up and totally tightening flex, probably the way he was on the acrobatic skiing, but you want to be about halfway up where the muscles are engaged, but not totally clenched.
And after a while, like anything else, it's second nature. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
But it takes a while getting there. And by the way, we're going to have Michael Collins on coming up in another episode.
Oh, great. That guy's going to steal my thunder. Diane McManus writes, just listen to your podcast about mid to back of the pack swimmers. Yes, I'm slow. Interesting program, and thanks for the suggestions and free workouts. My background is I'm 68. I first joined a master's group at 54. Then I grew to love the workouts, although I was a runner starting in my late 30s. I'm coached by a pro triathlete. In 2016, I completed my longest swim, which was 8 miles. I rarely go under 2 minutes for 100, and lately was slowing to 2:10-ish for my hundreds. A private session with my coach, a few technique tweaks brought me down to 158, 159 again. But 130, is that a pipe dream? I suspect. What kind of experience have you had with swimmers of my age range? Is there any reason to believe I can defy expectations and at least regularly break 2 minutes for 100? Or are some of us just not going to be fast as we age if we didn't have the swim team experience as youngsters?
That's good.
What kind of improvement can swimmers my age expect? Let's bring it back to the start. She's 68, remember. Mm-hmm. I usually swim 3 to 4 times a week, more in the build up to my longer swims. My weekly max during the training was 20,000 yards. If I'm doing maintenance swimming between sessions, maybe 24 to 2,600 yards, focused on shorter, faster repeats. I use almost all the equipment you recommend. I'm not about to stop while I'm alive, and my goal is a 10 plus mile swim. Good swimming to you. Oh, that's a good one, Diane.
Yes, Diane, thanks for the question. Thanks for the good foundations. It gives us a better way to sort of put it into context and answer the question. First question, do I have experience of coaching someone your age? Yes, it's been 35, 36 years of coaching, coached many athletes in that 60 to 70 category and even 70 to 80 and a few in their mid-80s. You made one assumption or presumption there that maybe the swimmers are the ones who are able to maintain the speed. In fact, it's the other way around. It's the non-swimmers. It's you, Diane, has the opportunity to keep improving because you didn't have that swim background. So you can actually still continue, even at 68 years old, to get faster relative to Jerry, in this case, who has that swimming background. I'm just managing depreciation because we just get slower and slower. We can't do what we did when we were in our 20s. But those without the swim backgrounds like yourself, with good coaching, like you stating that you have, the frequency and the right prescription of training, that's what's really important. The technical help that you got from your swim coach, those are the things that can help you quite a bit to continue to get faster. I don't know if 130 is the number, but below 2 minutes, definitely.
Let's keep reaching for that North Star. Yep. Hey, Howard Lee writes, he's 63 years old. Swimming has been a tremendous and at times humbling experience over the past 15 years, especially with the respect to kicking. 15 years ago, I would go nowhere or backwards. Last year, 25-meter kicking was 50 seconds, and this year, it's 40 seconds with much less effort. Last year, I was exhausted at the end of the vertical kick session. Now I'm ready to swim fast with the same level of fitness. I feel like I've become one with the H2O.
Howie, thanks for the comment. This is Howie from our subscription program. I wanted to read this on air because many of you guys that are now starting up with us and many athletes who do some of our free workouts, we have a couple thousand athletes that are doing these free workouts. So you're going to experience the same thing that our new subscribers are doing, which is kicking's difficult and you don't go very fast in the beginning. That's normal for non-swimmers, and especially if you have any sort of running background, because your feet are not flexible, especially the ankles. So you're going to start off at a minute or slower for a 25. And here's a perfect example of how he's 63 years old, started off and is getting faster and faster. So will you.
So at every Ironman, they have this at the day after the Ironman, Mike Riley gets up there and announces the slowest transitions. Some guy took 25 minutes in T1 and 45 minutes in T2 and had over an hour of transition time. I think we should do the same thing for 25 kicks when people first enter our program. What's the slowest 25 kick for these people coming into the program? And then we see that progression. I had a guy write me yesterday, new to the program, and I'm sure you're tuning in. I won't say any names. 3 minutes for a 25 kick.
I've seen
3 minutes.
Well, there's some folks, you've probably seen this, they go backwards. They actually go backwards. And that's because their feet are hooked downward like this. And they bicycle kick. They kick from their knees rather than their hip flexors. So it's combination of technique and super inflexible
But
ankles.
imagine the genius I'm going to look like when he gets it down to 50 seconds. I mean, it's 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And I'm going to be a savior to his wife, too, because he's not in the pool kicking for 17 hours a day. Next question is from Adam Coates. Hey, I love your podcast, Jerry. And he leaves me out, but he must love your podcast. Could you add a segment on how to structure a typical weekly recovery swim? I feel like I'm coming to grips with how the work gets done. Just looking for advice on what to do and not to do for those weekly recovery sessions.
All right, Adam, thanks for your question. And I'm going to throw this out there. I went and checked on our website that Christophe created. You haven't logged into our website to create a profile to even look at our workouts. So, Adam, let's do this, Jim. Let's, in one of our next upcoming podcasts, let's make our C session, which is our recovery workout, a workout of the episode. Get Adam in there so he can actually see what that workout is. And everyone will benefit from it. But in this case, Adam, you'll actually be able to see it and execute it.
So we'll make a recovery session. The rest of the session will reprimand Adam.
Sure, why not?
Entire time. Log in, Adam, and start paying attention. Order. So you get the wrath. Jerry. Ben Turner of Florida writes, hey, Jerry, I've listened to your podcast methodically and have seen good improvement in my swim training and focus each time I get in the pool. Thank you for everything you and Jim share.
The Jim, yeah.
At least somebody shows me some love. Over the past 4 years of doing triathlons, I've always trained with a tempo trainer in the pool and open water. I don't have any history of formal swim training and would appreciate your assistance now. Please, can you advise the steps and tricks on how to count strokes, lengths, and use of a pool clock? Thanks, and looking forward to joining your program next month.
All right, Ben. Thanks for the question. Fairly basic, huh?
Basic question.
Well, yeah. Let's start with the easiest one. How to count strokes. For counting purposes, a stroke is a single arm. One. Right arm, one stroke. Left arm, two strokes. Oh, Christophe. Water on the ground. Sorry about that. Right arm, one stroke.
You know, I saw that happen in about 30 minutes ago. I said, he's going to knock that glass over. I was counting down in 30 minutes.
Well, there's no more water for me at the end of this
episode. We share one. We share everything else.
So right arm one, left arm two. Right arm three, left arm four, and so on. So it's a single arm stroke equal one. So as you go across the pool, you're just simply counting one stroke at a time. You cover the 25 yards or 25 meter or 50 meter pool, you'll get your number of arm strokes for the length. So that's rather simple. How to use the clock? Depends. Analog clock or digital clock. Analog clock's a little bit more difficult if you don't have a background reading analog clocks. The digital clocks, Ben, are fairly simple. Should we have to explain this?
I don't know. Ben, join the program and we'll get him in on it. How about we do that?
Yes. I think use of the pool clock is rather simple. I don't think this is a complicated
And lengths, let's get into lengths. Just one time across the pool, that's a length. Two times, that's two lengths. Three, 4.
But I'm glad, Ben, you asked that question about lengths versus laps, and let's distinguish that and keep it really simple. Lengths. We use lengths as one time across from one side of the pool to the other side. That's one length. If you came all the way back, that would be two lengths. Some coaches, or you would see this written in programs, they interchange the word lengths and laps at times. We just typically stick with lengths.
Gotcha.
So one would be one way across.
Thanks for the question, Ben. It's great. We look forward to you joining and asking more questions. Next question is from Charles of Guernsey. This is weird. Charles is writing in and asking a question?
Well, he
way.
sent this, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Jerry, it's 6 months on the plan. You probably remember that in my first email, I was asking if you would consider giving me a discount if I paid for the whole year. Although no discount was given, I think the money was my best spent money in triathlon thus far. Thank you. Very sweet of Charles.
Yes. Well, Charles,
Talk to Charles daily.
You handle Charles.
We got to go live to Guernsey and meet this guy. Amazing athlete.
And amazing reports that he
very
sends
detailed.
in.
Very detailed.
So Charles would like you, Jim, to review his race report. That's why I put this in.
I got to get into
You're
it.
on it?
I got a whole list of race reports I got to get into, and
that's why I put this
Boss
on
man has me, burning the midnight oil, coaching athletes. So we'll get to it one of these days. Let's read his race report on air next one. Well, let's have him Skype in live, and he can read the race report.
It's long,
live on
as
air.
you know.
He can do it in his accent, whatever accent he has. Hey, Christian Hansen writes, hey, Jerry, Jim, I've been really enjoying the podcast that you guys have been putting out. I'm so new to triathlons that I haven't even done one yet. My question is regarding timing with the arms. You've mentioned about how good swimmers grip it and rip it, and also how they look very smooth and relaxed. Both of those make sense, but can you explain how if the arm in the water is moving quite quickly, how the other arm keeps up if it appears to be moving relaxed and slower?
Christian, this is a terrific question, but I want you to think about this for a second. Although the arm that's producing the force, the one beneath the surface, because it's in the water, which is very dense, it actually takes a much longer period of time beneath the surface to execute the arm stroke than the one that's in the air coming over. So the question would have even had a little higher value if you inverted it, because it's the arm that's above that's traveling through quicker rather than the one underwater. It's one of the reasons why the one above looks very relaxed, because it actually is going slower or with much less force, much less effort. But the one typically an arm stroke, if you swim at 60 strokes a minute, so let's do the simple math here. That's 1 stroke per second.
I'm dazing off. Yeah. Man, I'm out of it.
And that includes underwater and recovery, 1 full second. About 3/4 of that is underwater, 1/4 of it is above water.
Well, another thing I say is they call it recovery because it's recovery. You're doing the work while the arm's under the water. That's where you're gripping and ripping. You got to really stress keeping that arm relaxed and recovering, getting the split second recovery. So when the arm's in the water, you get that split second of work. So just focus on relaxing those arms as you're recovering.
And it's a little bit of sort of pat the head, rub the stomach type thing, because one arm is producing force, and the other arm is not doing anything. It's trying to attain recovery.
But the last thing you want to be is one of those guys who is just putting force all the time,
Correct.
Even in the recovery. The John Mulcahy's just fighting the water. Like you're
He's got a lot of airtime in this show today.
We should get him on too. Get him and Charles to run the next show. Me and you can sit over there and have a coffee or something.
And not spill any water.
Where are we at? Okay, so we got David Howie. We had Howie Lee earlier. It's all coming together. The show is all coming together at this point. Hey, coaches, I swam a 1.5 kilometer race. I was at the lead pack for the first 100 meters to the first buoy, but I noticed they went off course, possibly to catch a current. So I set a line straight for the next buoy. By the time I got there, they were way ahead. Is it best to stay with the pack if you see them go off course, as I know the pack will move faster than the lone swimmer? I feel I lost a lot of time, as the rest of the race I was on my own with no one to draft off of.
All right, David, thanks for the question. This is a terrific question, and we talked about this, Jim, I believe either in the prior episode or 2 episodes ago. We need to dedicate a specific episode to open water preparation, training, and racing strategy. This is a racing strategy question, and your specific of asking what to do. That and there's several answers to it, so it depends. But I'm going to give you one quick one. If you're at the back of the pack and you're struggling to hang on, meaning you're maxed out, you can hang on, but you're there pressed at the pack, and the pack goes crooked, swim crooked with them. Forget about trying to be sensible and swimming in a straight line, because the pack eventually, if they did go crooked, and remember, everybody that's swimming crooked thinks they're swimming straight.
Yeah.
All right. So let's make the assumption you're correct and you were straight and the pack did go crooked. They will correct at some point to get to the turn buoy, the turn marker. And if they're much faster than you and you were barely hanging on, you would get dropped like how you were. So the rule of thumb is, if you're struggling to stay with the pack or you're fairly pressed and they go off course, you go off course with them. Let's keep it that simple, but there's much more detail to it and more nuance as we get into racing skills and racing strategy.
And that's where you thrive, right? I mean, you're not only a fast swimmer, but your racing skills are unlike anything I've ever seen before. So there you go. Remember, write us contact@tower26.com for your questions. What are we going to speak about next episode, Jer?
Well, if it all lines up correctly, by the next episode, Christoph, we should be ready to go with our video review section, which is Christoph's the magician. He'll get it done in a day. But Mike Collins and I are now putting all the details together because we want to make sure that once we tell you how to shoot the video of yourself swimming, then we've got to get it uploaded, and then we'll do the work on it. That should be done by the next episode. We'll have Mike on.
Dimmer Switch Collins.
Dimmer Switch Collins.
Yeah.
Mike's very good at this. So Mike will be on, and we'll go through the details of how to do that, how to submit video analysis, and importantly, what we're looking for and how we can help you with that video analysis. And it's pretty unique what we're doing, something that is not done.
Well, it's going to be exciting. We have our Tower 26 holiday party, year-end
right.
holiday party this weekend. So our next podcast won't be next week because me and you will be hungover for a week after this party. And we'll drink some champagne in honor of Christoph. How's that
And
sound?
Christelle.
And Christelle is our host for this production. So yeah, Christelle as well.
Maybe we'll have Christelle champagne.
Hey, let's do it all. Bring it all together. The show comes together in the end, as usual. But for all you guys out there, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Tell all your friends. Go to iTunes and subscribe. And you can leave us a comment. Tell us how awesome we are.
You know, one of the things that Christoph's done, all of our episodes, guys, are now on our website. It's that simple.
Yeah, tower26.com. You can all check it out there, and each one has a little thumbnail and probably all of me, correct? I hope so. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening, and we will see you very soon, hopefully sooner than a month, for Jerry Rodriguez, Christoph Balestra, Christelle Balestra. This is Jim Binsky, the Tower 26B Race Ready Podcast.